Good afternoon, and also good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 10th Asian Women Leadership Summit. AWLS provides a platform for senior decision makers to interact, network, and exchange ideas and best practices with fellow professionals. The theme for this year will be Building Back a Better Future. AWS has had previously 9 successful summits. Today, we are pleased to host the second online AWS, for which there are about 1,300 registered delegates from 49 countries in 6 continents and 31 speakers from 12 countries, so this is truly an international conference. My name is Mike Rosenthal, your MC for this event. I am located in Shanghai, China, where I have lived and worked for 17 years. The United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, known as UN Women, has adopted Women in Leadership Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World as its theme for 2021. The theme celebrates the tremendous efforts by women around the world in shaping a more equal future and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Female leaders have been praised for their roles in response to COVID-19, but globally remain underrepresented in decision-making. Moreover, women have been disproportionately affected by the pandemic in various ways, including the closure of schools, which gave many women the additional role of teacher. This pandemic particularly affected service industries that led to higher job losses among women, resulting in a more income and wealth inequities and creating further challenges. Today, we hope to cover issues relating to how working from home has impacted women leaders, how the pandemic has affected the cause of gender parity, what actions can be undertaken to further gender parity, and also success stories of aspiring women entrepreneurs. On behalf of the organizer, Quest Conferences, we thank the summit's gold sponsor, HP, silver sponsors, BASF, Schellenberg Whitmer, and Dell, and supporting sponsors Google, Schneider Electric, Ingredion, Swift, Embrace Consultant, and VDO Hire. To make this event interactive, any participant may ask a question in the chat area, and if time allows, we will try to have that question answered. There will also be some polls that we would like our participants to complete, and the results will be automatically seen on your screens, may be referenced during our discussion period, and used in future AWLS programs. Both the area to ask questions and polls will be located on the right-hand side of your screen. Also, you may virtually meet other delegates using the networking tab on the left-hand side of your screen. Let us now welcome Dr. Sven Hansen, founder of the Resilience Institute, who has been involved in the field of resilience for almost 30 years and has worked with thousands of senior leaders and organizations to measure and achieve results in the field of physical, emotional, and mental well-being. We all experience challenges in life, especially during the pandemic, and Dr. Hansen will guide us through his research about resilience and overcoming our issues. Dr. Hansen, please begin your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and a very good afternoon to all of you out there. What a pleasure to be able to connect, albeit virtually, and I hope you're all feeling in your best possible state. But let's just to make 100% sure, take a moment just to lengthen your spine, pull in your chin a little bit, relax your face, breathe out, roll your shoulders, round the other way. All right, very good, and just think about someone really close to you and send them peace, love, and joy. Okay, so resilience at the end of the day is about 3 things: your physical, your emotional, and your mental state. And it's by managing those 3 things that you can have a better life, a better workplace, and a much better world. And I think, if there's one single message before I go through some of the research and explanations, is think of yourself more like a concert pianist or an Olympic athlete. People who practice a lot become very, very good. And I think that, for me, in business is one of our biggest challenges. We don't think about practice. We think because we're smart, we've got a good degree, we'll be successful. Couldn't be further from the truth. We've got to think about practice. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to try and share with you what is this thing called resilience. It's very topical. The use of the word has taken off. Really important for us to think about, what does that word mean? And when someone says they're going to sell you a resilience program, you as leaders need to know what that means. Secondly, if you're going to talk to your colleagues about resilience, you want to be clear about, because people hear different things. Secondly, we're going to ask the question, does it work? And thirdly, we're going to tackle one of the most common problems in our research from around the world, which is worry. Worry, which is linked to the most common mental illness, which is called anxiety. We can stop our worry, and today you're going to learn how. So let's get cracking, and we'll have lots of time for questions. Let me just find the right window here. Give me a moment. Here we go. All righty. So if I just leap in, if anything, is audio okay? Presentation is clear? All right, so what is resilience? Does it work? And how can I conquer worry and anxiety? First question, and go to your polls for this, please. The question is, resilience is the ability to bounce back. You've got three options. Is that true? Is it false? Or you're not sure? Is it true? Is it false? Or you're not sure? All right, make sure you log that in. We'll come back to some of these questions in just a moment. So our sense of it is that resilience in the very old days was about bounce back. So you can take a jumbo wing, bend it, and it bounces back. And if there are no cracks in the wing, that's resilience from a material science point of view. But what's important to understand about humans is that when we endure adversity, we actually grow, just like as the pianist practices or the athlete trains. They create damage under the pressure of training, but a human body, a biological being, actually grows stronger. So the key message here is, at very least, resilience is the idea to bounce forward fast. When we strike adversity, and right now the world is going through the third wave of very challenging adversity, we should assume and expect that most of us will have post-traumatic growth, not post-traumatic stress. Really important idea, and I hope many of you take that. Adversity is the crucible for growth. With adversity, we grow, we connect to others, and we find flow. And at the end of the day, our purpose is flow. So in the workplace, when you come home and you say to your loved one, you know what, today was tough, but I absolutely loved it. That's a day where you got some flow. You were doing something you're skillful at, and it was difficult. When you're in flow, you're 5 times more productive. Remember where we're going with worry? When you're in flow, there's no worry. In fact, all of your thinking, all that noise in your head just goes quiet. You stop tracking time, right? Time can compress, a morning can disappear in a flash, or it can expand. It's graceful. This is you really in your flow. And afterwards, it feels really good. All right, so our sense of defining resilience, as you talk to your people about this idea, the goal, the purpose is flow. You want to be able to wake up and look forward to your day. A good day is hard work. Something that's very different in business that you certainly don't see in the pianist or in the athlete is that the athletes take a lot of time to bounce and recover. They rest. They sleep very carefully. They massage our tired muscles. They hydrate. They eat skillfully. They have a huge routine to make sure that after performance, there's recovery. I wonder how many of you last night took time to truly recover, to truly refresh your body, your emotions, your mind. And when we fill the tank through bounce, that's when we're ready to grow again. And very few of us in business are taking that time. So we end up getting more and more tired. All right. And the growth sets new goals. And then the trick is not to take a deep breath, not to rise to the challenge, not to get too hyped up, but to actually sink to the confidence that you've got the skills behind you. So moving back into flow is actually a relaxation event. And in that is a really important idea, and we call it rhythm. So you know which parts of your day you're going to capture flow. You know when you get your bounce and recovery. You know when you're going to set new goals, do your training. And you know when you've got to connect into a really important conversation. Okay, so question 2. Here it is. Resilience is A, mostly learned. All right, so A, you believe that you can learn all of resilience. Question B is it's mostly genetic or inherited. In other words, you get your resilience from your parents, from your genes. It's pretty much a fixed trait. All right, and C, an option here, mostly a consequence of the environment you live in, you grow up in. All right, so if you can ask those questions, is it mostly learned? Is it mostly genetic? Is it inherited? And let's take a quick moment just to see what the results are. Are you able to show us the results, Faiz? I can see lots of people putting down C's and A's. All right, so we'll go straight back into the main presentation. Just give me a second. I'm not. You guys still seeing my screen? Are you able to check in with that? It looks like I'm unable to share it. No, it looks like we got it. All right, just stop me if it's not. All right, so resilience is a learned ability. Now, this is something that's been argued long and hard for 50 years, but pretty much everyone in the field would argue the case that resilience is learned. We thought our genes did a lot. We thought we had 100,000 useful genes. It turns out we only have 20,000 useful genes, and only 1 to 2% of those genes do any work. The rest of who you are comes from your environment and the way you interact with your world, the way you train, the way you practice, the way you play, who you work with, who you love. All right, so the 4 parts to bounce forward fast in adversity, to grow physical, emotional, mental capabilities, connect with yourself, with others, and with nature, and to discover that 5 times productivity of flow. All right, so we try to build something that's evidence-based, integral, and practical. At the end of the day, it's all about altitude. There are some days you wake up and you say, oh yeah, I love it. This day for me is working. And there are other days you feel like death warmed up. You really want to climb back under the pillow and hope that the day goes away. That's what we term altitude. As a leader, you have 4 key requirements. The first question is what we term insight or self-awareness. Do you know where you are on that spiral? 2, if you've had a bad night, kids have been a problem, late for work, you've got a really important meeting, you're feeling anxious and fearful. Can you get from fear up to trust and confidence and emotional intelligence in 5 minutes as you walk from the bus to the office? That's mastery. The third one is the ability to see the altitude of other people, to be able to observe their body, their emotion, their mind, and to see how they're traveling. And the fourth perspective is what we term altruism, the genuine desire to be able to interact with people at work, at home, in the world, in a way that lifts them just a little up that spiral. All right, so we use a model, and it's somewhat complex, but let me just take it through simply. At our foundation, if we start with bounce is in essence the ability to know when we're going down the bottom half, when we're overloaded, we start to disengage, not paying attention, missing what people say, forgetting tasks, procrastinating, to starting to feel anxious, to maybe getting frustrated and angry, all the way to collapse. Right? This is the journey of how your resilience fails. It's normal, It's natural. It's been happening in biology for billions of years. Right? The trick with bounce is to be able to see this, to know when you're doing too much, when you're multitasking. I wonder how many of you right now are playing on your phones or looking at another email. When you're disengaging, we know that 46% of the time, professionals are actually disengaged. We think we're paying attention, but in fact, we're not. And then we get the flight reaction, which is avoidance, anxiety, normal, natural. If we don't resolve it, if we don't get back to secure, that fear can become generalized anxiety disorder. Likewise, if we can't run away, sometimes we feel like you've got to fight out of something. You get angry, get frustrated, feel resentment, you blame someone. And that's the fight reaction. And if we don't resolve that, we become hostile. And then collapse is the kind of give up, submit, withdraw reaction, which is called the freeze reaction. So in bounce, step 1, know how your resilience fails. Step 2, know how to quickly bounce. What do you need to do? Connect and collapse. Be kind in attack. Be calm. Seek safety in avoid. Learn to create space. Remember the bounce module, the rhythm, and not to overload yourself. And then the grow is the ability to get physiologically secure, to be able to energize yourself daily, to be able to build your feeling capability or your emotional intelligence and your thinking ability. Connect the connection with others, and flow is the top of the spiral. And by aggregating data, we can actually get a cultural view of the organization. Right? So if many people are feeling angry, hostile, aggressive, bullying, we have an angry culture. But by the same token, if you've got a well-being program and people are taking time to eat well, taking time to sleep well, taking time to exercise, you have a culture of well-being. Right? So we can aggregate this data up to get a picture. So let's have a look at how that happens. First question, can you answer the question, the benefit of resilience to business in general is A, nothing. It doesn't work. B, it's a feel-good factor which might lift morale and engagement. And C, it has strong positive return on investment. In other words, if you put a resilience program in, you're actually going to get not just morale and engagement, but you actually can get a positive financial return on investment. Right? 3 really important questions, because people are without a doubt going to be knocking on your door about this idea. So what do we get quickly? This is a group of entrepreneurs. They are leaders of small businesses across New Zealand. We've been doing this program 20 years now. This group was 115 who went through in small groups like this, and measuring them on that spiral, we do a pre-assessment. They go through our training, and we do a post-assessment. We ask the question, well, from before to the end, what changed? And what you can see in this group of leaders is 44% less depression symptoms, 54% less distress, anxiety, 55% less vulnerable, 67% less confused, 66% more physical well-being, 48% more emotional intelligence, 52% mind. These are big changes. All right, so this is a program with a number of sessions with us. It also involves coaching, and it has digital support. So these guys are making a real change in their lives, and you can imagine as each of these go back to that business, what the downstream effect is for the people who work for them. Right? We estimate that this group over the year 2018 was actually this group, they added $15 billion to the New Zealand economy. All right, and that's tens of thousands of jobs. So it's important, right? And it's a little message in there. Resilience starts with the leader. We can take groups, and for example, so at the bottom there, you can see what we call the resilience ratio. It's essentially saying some people are going to be struggling, some people are going to be really strong. At the beginning for this group, their average score was 1.74 strengths for every risk. Over the period of 9 months, they got their resilience ratio up to 2.52. That's a 44.8% improvement. And you can see how much the strengths, or the green, has improved from the pre to the post. And you can see which particular strengths improved and which risks reduced. Okay, so that's the kind of data you can do, and you can see it quite consistently. It works. Another one, you may be sitting and asking the question, so which one should I focus on? Should I eat a better diet? Should I sleep? Should I take my supplements? Well, it proves that those are very rarely in the top 10. What we do here is we take roughly 10 to 20,000 people every year, sample of leaders doing this sort of program, and we look at how the top 10% answer the questions as compared to the bottom 10%. And what you can see there is the top 10% tick the I'm calm and present 96% of the time in the very often, nearly always category. Whereas if you're in the bottom 10% of resilience, you only tick that box 6% of the time. That is a huge difference. Over COVID, presence has shot up 3 points. Right, so if there's one thing that you might take away from this to actually do is to ask yourself the question, am I present? Am I 100% present to what's happening right now? If you are, resilience, your life, your work is improving. Fulfillment and focus have been in the top 3 for many, many years now. Bounce has come up a lot over the COVID period. It gives you an idea, right? We don't see the sleep, we don't see the exercise, we don't see the nutrition, but we see many of these mental factors. And if we ask the other question, so what are the risks? What are the things you should really be concerned about? You can see in the top 10%, only 2% of people tick worry, often, nearly always. Sorry, very often or nearly always. That's almost nothing. Rumination, which is thinking about the past, the top 10% never do that. All right? Whereas if you're in the bottom 10%, there's a lot of worry going on. There's a lot of fatigue. There's a lot of self-critical. Resilient people find a way to manage that. And that's one of the reasons we're going to tackle worry in a moment. And we can do some really fun things comparing different countries and looking at different age groups and genders, which can be really interesting from an organization point of view. That's across all of our New Zealand data, the kind of improvements across the whole population. Number of people at risk of mental illness went down 35%, anxiety down 19%, worry down 17%. You see in female, the results are even higher, 52% reduction at risk. And the under 30s had the highest reduction of all. And then we can see, look very specifically what actually changes with people. And you can see things like contemplation, sleep quality, relaxation, fitness, that really show a huge growth. Whereas things like self-critical, hypervigilant, slothful, not exercising, worry and fatigue drop significantly. All right, so here's a question for you. When you think about your resilience and well-being, all right, which is the most important element? A, physical fitness, B, regular quality sleep, and C, good nutrition and eating habits. All right, so this question is focused more on the physical area. But when you think about improving your resilience and well-being, where do you focus? A, fitness, B, regular quality sleep, C, nutrition and eating habits. Alrighty, and I guess the answer to this is that it's not one thing. And I think just before we move into the worry module, just to make the point that at the end of the day, there are ways to live. Each one of us is different. I think the question that each of you need to ask is, what do I need to do every day on a non-negotiable basis to be the best version of myself as a leader? So for example, I know if I don't get my sleep sorted out, that compromises me in all kinds of ways. The evidence for that is crystal clear. If there's one bit of low-hanging fruit, thinking about positive ROI, sleep is costing the average business, global business, $2,500 per person per year. We get a 30% reduction in sleep problems. Okay, that means you're saving $800 per person per year if you can fix sleep. Really low-hanging fruit. Alrighty. So somewhere it's going to include sleep. It's certainly going to be detailed about your flow time. Make sure you get your exercise in. Have those micro breaks, those bounce phases, the time you fill the tank so you can focus again. Make sure, particularly when we're working at home so much now, have good transitions. So if you're having a call, have a real quick clear, do some stretches before you connect back with your family, and likewise when you get back. And a really critical one, and the American Sleep Association had a big article on this last week, to have a good cool down period before you go to sleep. The brain and the body and your hormones need about 90 minutes screen-free to allow yourself to drop into sleep. So look, Mike, I think what we're going to do is let's see if there are any questions, and then we can come back to the worry.
Dr. Hansen, I'd like to thank you very much on behalf of AWLS for that tremendous presentation. We know we're asking you to fit a lot of content into a short period of time, and I know that there's more information available. In the minute that we have, I want to see if I can get to two questions. The first one is, how do you conduct your research? Is it mostly self-reporting?
Yes, so it is a formal questionnaire with good psychometrics. It has about 60 questions, and people answer those questions on a Likert scale. And every individual's result is 100% confidential, but it does allow you to aggregate that data so you can see the picture of the team or the company.
I'd like to ask you a tough question. I like the fact that you said that we should compare ourselves to athletes and preparing ourselves to be resilient. We know that in the most recent Olympics, there was a gold medalist from America, a female, who decided to withdraw. And I have a two-part question. The first one is, what do you think happened to this amazing gold medalist athlete? What would you perceive would be the issue? And number two, the press and the people covered this in two very different ways in terms of their perspective. How do you perceive the way that people see others and their resilience? So it's a two-part question. If you could quickly answer that, would be great.
Yeah, I think it's a very unique situation. So the work that Simone Biles is doing is extreme. It's very, very hard. Right? It is really, really, it's the sort of stuff that would break us every day. So I think we have to be conscious that many athletes, to be able to succeed on a world stage, are doing some very painful training. It's repetitive, it's tough, it's competitive, and people can be really nasty. So it is a tough world, right? And I think it is also important that each athlete can choose to opt out. Now, we would love to see our athletes show resilience. We want to see them bounce, and it was good to see Simone Biles coming back. We want to show them to be connected, that we want them to be our heroes. But the pressure is absolutely huge. So I think all of us can feel some empathy for what she might do. But the truth is, if you want to step up to the world stage like that, you're going to have to do your resilience practices. And I suspect she didn't do her bounce adequately.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hansen. I wish we had more time for questions, but at the moment, we are sharing with you two slides with courses offered by the Resilience Institute. If you want to know more about these programs, just click on the appropriate box. And we thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you all. Enjoy your afternoon. I hope it's a brilliant one. Appreciate the time.